But I want to start just your story, man. How'd you get to where you are from
Yeah.
where you were being however far back you want to go?
Okay. Yeah. We can do all of that. Whatever you want to ask. I'm down for it.
You can go ahead and answer if you want.
Oh, are we recording?
Yeah, I'm recording. Well, yeah, this is what I love.
Okay. Yeah.
No, so basically, yeah, my bad. I mean, I don't even care. This will be on there anyways. Basically, what will happen is I'll do a post intro and just like superimpose it. It'll go right into it. So yeah, if you want to start with your story, go ahead.
Yeah. I was raised on a reservation in South Dakota, Lakota Sioux, and that was very much an earth centric culture that I grew up in. Um, but even living on the reservation and being a part of that tribe, I was always kind of picked on as a kid because like it was almost like I was too white for the Indian kids, and then I came to public school out in Iowa, and I was too Indian for like white kids. So I was like I never fit in wherever I was. So eventually, when we moved off the reservation, we came to Iowa. I went to high school here in Iowa, and then I went to school for a few years, got a couple of degrees. I studied physics, and I, I I found myself wanting to do something that really like applied my background, like what I was really interested in, which was science. Like it's always been my baby, and eventually I stumbled upon this whole grounding thing, and that was something that really allowed these three important things in my life to kind of mix and mash, which was science, spirituality, and my culture. And I don't necessarily relate my culture to my spirituality because they're a little different. But so yeah, it's a really cool thing when all those things can kind of come together, and I'm able to work in these three different domains and keep the main focus grounding, which is being electrically connected to the earth.
Man, that's awesome. I'm glad you touched on the reservation because I have never actually spoken to anybody who was born and spent any time on a reservation. I've read handfuls of books like Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. That's one of my favorite books. In American Buffalo by Steve Rinelli, he speaks on it. But I've always been fascinated by American Indian culture, and I'm curious to know how that. And now that you're removed from it a little bit, how did growing up and being born on a reservation in America today, how did that impact you?
So I mean, it's going to be different for everybody, and a lot of reservations are so different as far as what they can offer, as far as resources and what's available to people as far as furthering themselves. I grew up on a reservation where there wasn't a lot of opportunity. There wasn't a lot of resources. Money wasn't managed very well. Um, Thankfully, I was born into a really good family that took care of each other. But as far as opportunity and stuff out there, a lot of my family members ended up in gangs. A lot of them ended up shot. So I feel if my mom didn't take me off the reservation, I probably would have ended up doing what my cousins were doing, which was joining gangs and getting involved with drugs and all that. So they're not nice places, at least on my side of the spectrum. And I don't go there very much too often anymore. Every once in a while, I'll go see some family, or I'll do a running camp or something for some kids. But other than that, I kind of, I just stick to Iowa. It's my reservation. It's not a place I want to really go visit for vacation or anything. So
Yeah. Well, so I think a commonality between a lot of people in America, maybe the entire world nowadays, is we're like removed from our culture and our heritage. Um, and I don't know, I just have this reverence for the the amount of focus that most, if not all, American Indian tribes placed on the earth, and then also just their culture as a whole. It was very important to them. Um, is that something that, even if the reservation isn't something that you necessarily like associate super heavily with, is the actual Lakota Sioux
yeah,
part of you? Is that something
yeah.
that you really dig
Absolutely.
into.
That was the cool part. That was the cool part of growing up and all that was the actual culture. Is that I grew up in a very traditional ceremonious ceremonious environment, and I was constantly put into these ceremonies, these sweat lodges, these sweat lodge prayers, um, these sun dances, and at these sun dances, which are an annual event in my culture. I would watch my family, dance for days and days and days, and they would either be barefoot or in moccasins, and I feel like I would watch them and just kind of be in awe on the side because I was too young. I was too young to be doing it, and I would watch my mom dance for days, and I was like, how is she still dancing like after the last 8 hours? And she's able to do it like 3 days in a row, and it didn't really click back then, but it's like these guys are grounding, and they understand. They don't, I mean, they don't see it from a technical standpoint like I do, but they see it from a spiritual standpoint, and that's really what's driving them forward, is that connection to the earth that they hold so high in their beliefs, in our beliefs. And I went on to become a Christian later in my life, and grounding, I still believe, is a very big part of that faith. But yeah, the culture was extremely rich, and I'm extremely thankful that I was able to grow up in something like that.